Hi guys, and welcome back again. I'm going to jump right into, I wrote a few questions down that you guys have asked, and by all means, please keep sending them because you've been sending some really great questions. Not only the questions that you're asking, but it also gives me an idea as to like the working level and knowledge level that everyone's at, so sort of other things we need to go into and jump off into for different learning levels. So thank you for these. So let's see. First one, Russell asked, as Raphael carries a caduceus, which is like a wand, can I make him the angel of healing and change his tarot suit to wands instead of swords? And as Michael already carries a sword and is the angel of protection, can he have swords as his tarot suit? And to be honest, I've come across a lot of different systems. All these systems, like when a system tells you, like this angel belongs to this sphere on the tree of life, and this element in the elemental scheme of things, and this suit of the tarot cards, what that is a paradigm. A paradigm is a way of ascribing these things to specific categories. And there are different traditions do indeed go by different paradigms. I have seen people, different groups, they're usually really small groups who do this, but I have seen really small groups who did assign Raphael to the wands. Like when you're talking about the four suits of the tarot, you've got wands, swords, cups, and pentacles. Each of these four suits of the tarot correspond to one of the four main archangels. So for example, Raphael is the archangel of air, and air is the suit that corresponds to swords in the tarot. So Raphael is the archangel. Normally in most big magical traditions, Raphael is the archangel associated with swords. Then you have Michael, who's the archangel of fire, the direction of the south, and fire corresponds to the sword. I mean the wands suit in tarot. So the wands are fire and Michael. Earth is pentacles and Uriel. And water is Gabriel and cups, the cup suit of the tarot. Each of these also represent the four tools magicians use. The wands represent the wand that magicians use. The pentacle represents your pentacle, your round disc that goes on your altar that you put things on to charge them. The cups represent your chalice, the chalice you put like water into or wine into, whatever, and then put the energy into it and consume it. What did I leave out? Wands, pentacles, chalices, swords. A lot of people do, especially in neo-pagan or Wiccan witchcraft traditions, a lot of people do use a actual sword to like draw the circle and draw the pentagrams and all of that. So the sword is also a magical tool, and you'll see in the tarot deck the magician has all four of these suits laid on the table in front of him, and that sort of represents how he has everything he needs in order to manifest change in the world. Well, traditionally in ceremonial magic in the West, those are the angels and the elements ascribed to each thing. However, I have seen a small group of people, and I can't remember what their name was, this was a long time ago. This is not the major attributions, but some people did indeed have Raphael as the archangel of wands and Michael as the archangel of swords. And if that's a tradition or if that's a paradigm that you want to follow up on, by all means do it if that feels right to you. However, if you're using the rest of the system, it knocks things out of whack. It knocks things out of balance, because then you've got Raphael as the archangel of fire and Michael as the archangel of air, and all of your correspondences start to get scrambled. When Russell was talking about Raphael, he says, can I make him the angel of healing? Well, technically that's what Raphael is. That's what the name Raphael means. Like anytime you see an angel's name, L at the end of it, like Raphael, Michael, Gabriel, Uriel, whatever it is, L means of God. Raphael literally means healing of God. So that's what Crowley was talking about when he was talking about the names of angels are formulas, and whenever you call on this name, you're calling on a specific type of energy or attribute. So a short answer, yes, you can do that. Long answer, you may run into trouble down the road because your correspondences are not going to match up if you're using the Golden Dawn, or if you're using the OTO, or if you're using the AA. It won't match up with any of those systems, so it could possibly lead to a lot of confusion down the road. But you are, by all means, you're free to do that, and you can also look up. Like I said, I can't remember what these organizations were called who use that system, but you can do some research and find them, and maybe find what systems they use and how you can make it a cohesive whole. And that's what you're shooting for. You're looking at following a cohesive whole system that allows you to see all of reality as this interlocking puzzle. Not necessarily just taking a piece here and a piece there because we like a particular thing about a particular system. You can get short-term results like that, but when you're really wanting to see the full unfolding of the world and consciousness and divinity and all those things, it is of tremendous benefit to have an entire cohesive system. So I'm going to go to the next one. Dr. Frazani asks, what effect, if anything, does duplicating sigils have? Do duplicate sigils need to be charged separately? Can another magician come along and redirect/reverse the energy of a sigil you created? Okay, I'm going to break this down because this is actually several questions in one. So first off, what effect, if any, does duplicating sigils have? And the second part of that question is, do duplicate sigils need to be charged separately? The effect of duplicating a sigil, there is no effect at all unless you make there be an effect. So yes, you do charge each individual sigil. That's the point of creating more than one, is because whenever you're doing that, they are more than the sum of their parts. If you're creating two different sigils and charging both of them, then you've put twice the power into this. And if you didn't want to put twice the power or quadruple the power or 10 times the power or how many sigils you're creating, then it kind of wouldn't, you wouldn't even need to make more sigils. You could just make one. But I'm going to finish answering the question before I go on to other things. There are other things connected to this that I want to talk about. It says, can another magician come along and redirect/reverse the energy of a sigil you created? Absolutely. If they know what they're doing and have the ability to do it, this usually is not a thing that a neophyte or a beginner is going to be able to know how to do, but somebody who's been doing magic for years, yes, absolutely. There are going to be very few things to do with energy that they couldn't change in some way. Someone once said that when you have an adept, someone who's in the second order of magic, that they would be able to produce more results in the world by simply twisting their ring than a neophyte would have doing, like weeks long intensive rituals and doing all sorts of talismans and circumambulating the temple and pentagram rituals and hexagram rituals. The more you progress down this path, the more adept and proficient you get at energy work. So yes, and there's a lot of stuff that I would like to go into here. Like, for example, I'll tell you about chaos magic. If you're not familiar with chaos magic, it really started with Peter Carroll and Psychonaut, but Austin Osman Spare had a big hand in it, a lot of other people. What they realized is you didn't necessarily have to follow traditional patterns to do magic. Like, for example, you didn't have to invoke archangels or gods, ancient Sumerian gods. They found that they could get results doing something by, like, for example, invoking the deities of H.P. Lovecraft's novels, things that were never real and that no one ever believed in, but that they could still invoke and get certain results. This is what chaos magic was about. But they also did something, they created what they called a linking sigil, LS for linking sigil. And what they did was created a sigil that chaos magicians all over the world would put in their town, in different places. Put it in your home, put it in your city, put it in restaurants, wherever. And I've done this myself with my own thing. But the point of doing this was so that if I have this sigil in my house, the linking sigil, which became to be called LS for short. Remember LS for linking sigil? This thing became an egregore. It started to behave as if it were intelligent in a certain way just because you had so many people pouring energy into it, and they chose to call it Ellis, which is kind of a play on LS. But what they would do, for example, if I have an Ellis sigil in my home and say 10,000 people all over the world also have it in their home, or they've put it in different places, I can do energy work. The point of it was that I could do magic on my version of that sigil, and all the other copies of that sigil in the world would act as antennas to boost the signal that I was putting through it. That's the whole reason it was created, so that Ellis would empower the magic that they were doing with this sigil. I did something like that myself, where one day I made 2 sigils, one for receiving and one for sending, and I took them to a copy center downtown, made about 100 copies of each one, and then took them and put them, I went in Times Square, because Times Square is like the crossroads of the universe. You have people from every walk of life, every country, every religion, every race, everything, all going through there and producing massive amounts of energy every single day. So I went in that area and put these sigils and talismans all up under tables at bars and bodegas, and went into bathrooms and stuck them behind toilets and all that, because I wanted to be able to draw on all of that ambient energy being produced in Times Square, be able to draw it in order to use it to manifest something or put it into my magic. So sigils can be used in a bunch of different ways, which we have barely even scratched the surface on. But yes, if somebody knows what they're doing, they can actually alter the energy behind the intent of the sigil. You can also, one of the things, and I highly suggest looking into this also, you'll find it very interesting, ways to destroy egregores is by destroying the symbol that the egregore is attached to with fire. You have to burn it, but you can definitely decrease the power of an egregore by burning something. This is why the Catholic Church always burned people who had different beliefs than they did, because they were trying to destroy the link to the egregore so that it wasn't being empowered. Whereas if they were to kill people in other ways besides that, they were kind of making them martyrs, and their life force was going defeated. It's kind of a complicated process or theory whenever you're first thinking about it, but it's something really interesting that I advise delving into if you really want to learn more about this kind of stuff. And I have a lot more questions, but I'm going to stop for now because we're running a little later than I want to. We've got 2 really good ones coming up. One, someone was asking about meridians and burning your meridians out, and someone else was asking about live streaming retreats, things like that. So those are things I'm going to get to next. I hope you guys are having an amazing day. I love you, and I'll talk to you back here shortly. Bye-bye.